I left Hartford a while ago, came down and had the opportunity, and might I add the honor, to meet a young refugee family who was otherwise going to report to Indiana, and were diverted to come to here in Connecticut, a state that is more than happy to greet them, to have them part of our fabric. I have to say they were absolutely wonderful and charming folks who've been living as refugees in Jordan for the last 4 years or so. They have one child who was born in the hometown of Homs, where they had to evacuate from to Jordan. They've been involved obviously as refugees and in an approval process to come to the United States for an elongated period of time. It is an exhaustive process for anyone to come as a refugee to the United States. And I assured them that not only was I welcoming them, but I was proud that they've come to the United States and come to Connecticut. I told them that people in the United States are generous and good people, but sometimes things happen elsewhere that cause people to forget about their generosity and to forget about their native warmth and spirit, but that will return to the rest of people in due course, because we are a country that has always extended itself to other people. I think it is the right thing to do for us to respond to this tragedy that's playing itself out. We have an obligation to the other nations of the world to do our part. It is the right thing, the humane thing to do. Quite frankly, if you believe in God, it's the morally correct thing to do. I think this was a call put on by the White House to make sure that governors who may not have understood the refugee process understood it, and the extent of reviews that are done, which are quite extensive before anyone is brought to our country as a refugee. Again, I'll repeat for you that numerically or statistically, the UN has recommended for consideration from Syria 23,000 individuals. Of that, after initial review, 7,000 were approved to go to the next step of review. Of that 7,000, 2,000 have been resettled here in the United States. So we're talking about a relatively small number of individuals who come here after an exhaustive process that takes between 12 and 18 months, and that was shared with everyone. Each state has a resettlement designee, and some of this information would have been available to my fellow governors if they had reached out to their state designee. But I was grateful that the federal government, the White House, was sharing the information so that we can get beyond temperament and get beyond fears to understand what we need to do as a people. Anyone can understand this by going on and understanding the difficulty in homes beginning in 2011 and even playing out even more recently over the last year. Refugees came streaming out of that beleaguered and battled city. It was filled with folks like this couple that I met. He was in the retail, what we would call in the United States the retail business. Maybe they should call it shopkeeping there. And his lovely wife and their son, who was only under the age of 1 when they were evacuated. Well, I think it's hysteria that's lack of knowledge, and quite frankly has been fed, in my opinion, by people who should be leading the fight against hysteria, not feeding into it. It is an exhaustive process. It is a long process. We don't share a border with these countries. No one is taking a boat from Syria or a raft from Syria or from Turkey to get to our shores. We control this refugee process to a higher extent than any other country in the nation. And you know why we do it? Because it's the right thing to do. And I firmly believe that People will come to understand that relatively quickly. We had one governor, happened to be a Republican, call for a ban on Sunday, and within hours, just about every other Republican governor had fallen in line. Including now members of the Congress, including the Speaker, calling for a pause. A pause in people who've been in the process for 12 to 18 months. A pause for people who've been in temporary settings for 4 and 5 years. We're bigger than that as a nation. We're better than that as a nation. And we should have more faith in the process that has been engaged in for decades in our country.